All right, let's now shift our attention to the other big story that we are tracking at this hour on Wion, where two women have begun their 5-kilometer uphill trek towards the Sabarimala shrine in South India's Kerala state and are now just a few meters away from the temple's entrance. So even as we speak, the two women are being escorted by at least about 100 riot police force personnel to inside of the temple, and these are the scenes of what is in fact presently playing out in front of the Sabarimala shrine. Now, the riot police are shielding the women from hundreds of protesters who have gathered there and who have said that they will do everything that they possibly can to stop the women from entering into the Sabarimala shrine. Remember, the Supreme Court in its recent landmark ruling, it said that women not being allowed to enter into the Sabarimala shrine is violative of parity between genders, of the right to equality, and therefore there should not be any discrimination even on the basis of their gender from them being not allowed to enter into the Sabarimala shrine. Now, this is what is playing out. Two women, one a journalist and another an activist, are being escorted by at least about 100 riot police in their riot gear to be allowed to enter inside the temple. We are given to understand that they are very close by and are near the steps of the temple shrine. Now, the two women include a journalist called Kavita Jakal of Andhra-based Mojo TV and another female activist called Rehana Fatima. They are near the entrance of the Sabarimala shrine, and today is the third day since the temple has reopened after the Supreme Court last month had overturned an old ban on women of menstruating age, that is between 10 to 50 years, from entering into the Sabarimala temple. Now, after reaching the shrine, they have to climb the 18 steps to enter into the shrine. So this is the scene that is presently to be found near the Sabarimala temple, right at the footsteps of those 18 steps through which the devotees would have to go through to enter into the Sabarimala shrine. Now, the police have said that they do not want to create any sort of a scene, and they are asking the temple authorities and also the protesters who have gathered there that they should respect the ruling, the verdict that has been given out by the Supreme Court. It is the law of the land, and it is a verdict that has to be respected. And what the protesters are doing is clearly in violation of the verdict given by the Supreme Court last month. So as of now, there are two women who are on their way, who've been halted just a few meters away. They're being escorted by about 100 riot police personnel to enter into the Sabarimala shrine. And we have our correspondent Siddharth MP who's joining us, who's tracking all the action from ground zero. Good morning to you, Siddharth. Now, this is in many ways historic, isn't it? Now, two women are on their way to enter into the Sabarimala shrine, but they've been stopped by several of these protesters.
Yes, it's not just by the protesters, but even the police now are contemplating, because the government at the higher levels is thinking and contemplating about this issue, whether these women should be allowed to step inside. Because even the government knows that the consequences of allowing women to enter into the Sabarimala temple, the government might have a stance that they want to stay in line with the Supreme Court's verdict and they want to let women go inside. But even now the communist government seems to be contemplating whether they should be allowed inside. Because if not, if there were so many riot police and all of them in riot gear really wanted to push forth and take the women into the temple, it already could have happened. But now things are put on hold because there's a lot of discussions going on, because this is not an easy decision to make. It's 800 years of tradition and it's a high stakes battle here for the government in Kerala.
Absolutely, indeed. It is a high-stakes battle, and for everyone concerned, this is essentially a battle to be allowed the right to go into a temple and pray, irrespective of the fact whether an individual is a man or a woman. And it's been a long journey from the time the women came forth. They started their protests and they said that we too should be allowed to pray. And what we are looking at is some of these people who say that they are traditionalists, who say that they are only in keeping with their traditions, who are opposing the entrance of women into the Sabarimala shrine.
Yes, all of these people who are preventing the entry are devotees, are bhaktas of Ayyappa. And here it is also important to note another thing, that this issue cannot be viewed just like women's entry or not allowing women to enter, because basically each temple in Kerala and particularly in South India has its own tradition. To just take you through a few of them, in certain temples in Kerala, one cannot enter, a male cannot enter a temple by wearing a shirt. He has to enter a temple bare-chested, only covering himself by a white piece of cloth. So these are the traditions that prevail here, and I think the Supreme Court verdict itself was opening a Pandora's box, and that's what the majority opinion is, because there are several temples in Kerala where only women are allowed for a certain period of time. So all of this cannot be brought under the purview of the law, is the majority and mainstream opinion out here in Kerala, because each temple here has their own traditions and they operate on the basis of different traditions and religious beliefs.
Absolutely indeed, but in this case, Siddharth, the government is trying to implement the verdict that has been given out by the Supreme Court, and it's also being said that there are some troublemakers who'd like to try and hijack this movement where women are trying to, get parity and they want to enter into the Sabarimala temple. So why has this now become such a contentious issue where the government, it appears, is on the back foot? They want to implement the Supreme Court's judgment, but is not able to do so. And today is the third day since the shrine has again reopened.
Yes, well, the issue in front of the government right now is that this is a leftist communist government that is in power in Kerala. And their biggest issue that is facing them right now is the fact that a lot of believers in the state of Kerala, believers, that means people from across religions, because as I told you earlier, people from every single religion are free to visit the Sabarimala temple if they take that 41-day traditional penance, and if they actually perform the rituals of purity for 41 days, people from any religion can visit the Sabarimala temple. So now it's not a matter of, isolating a certain community of believers, but the majority of people here in Kerala who believe in the rituals and traditions of Sabarimala temple across socio-economic strata, because here there is no caste hierarchy. Anybody can step into the Sabarimala temple and offer prayers. Of course, anybody from any religion can also step in. So all of these people and their beliefs is what is under attack now by the Kerala government, and the government risks losing these many people's support, because this also importantly is the last communist government standing in India, because they lost Tripura elections earlier, and then this is the last communist government in India. And now belief, ironically, is the issue that is also proving to be their Achilles heel.
Absolutely, Siddharth. And also this is an issue that needs to be looked in the context of social reform. It is not as if traditions in the past have not been challenged. It is not as if traditions in the past have not been met with with some amount of resistance from the so-called traditionalists. If I could jog your memory here, there have been instances in the past where some traditionalists have tried to defend some very retrograde sort of practices. For instance, the temple entry movement that took place in the early decades of the 20th century. Some are comparing this, where women are now seeking the right to enter into temples of their choice and perform prayers. How is that being viewed there in Kerala?
Well, basically the reality in Kerala is that almost every Keralite here knows for a fact that Sabarimala, the shrine per se, is the only place, only Ayyappa temple where entry for women is barred. That is within the age of 10 and 50. This is the only Ayyappa temple where that is the case. Whereas be it any other Ayyappa temple, you can look at it across the globe. On any other Ayyappa temple, this is not the case. So basically, this is the place where Lord Ayyappa is Lord Ayyappa is actually at Sabarimala, and all the other temples that you find across the globe do not follow the same tradition of not allowing women within the age of 10 to 50 inside the temple. It is only here that the practice is so rigid, and that's why they want to defend it, because be it any other Ayyappa temple in Kerala or in Tamil Nadu or maybe even abroad, it is always available and always it's open for women. They are welcoming to women of all ages. Anybody irrespective of caste, religion can step into those temples, but it's only Sabarimala, and that's why there's so much of rigidity and resistance. Just one temple.